Coming up on episode 145 of Create If Writing, I'm talking about more social media updates you need to know.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hello and welcome to Create If Writing. I'm your host, Kirsten Oliphant, and this is the podcast for you, a writer, blogger, or creative who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy. So in this episode, we're going to talk about some of the social media updates that I missed in part one. It wasn't supposed to be part 1 and 2, but I realized I forgot a couple platforms, just small ones like YouTube and Pinterest. So I have a few updates and a few random things that I missed. And if you want the first set of updates, you can listen to the last episode 144. And if you want the show notes, because there are going to be lots of links to other resources, because I'm sort of just covering lightly over some of these updates, you can go to createifwriting.com/145 for this episode, and I'll link to last week's episode. But hey, I do this thing where the episodes are like easy to find. You just go to createifwriting.com/ and then the episode number. So if you want to find last week's with part 1 that has a lot more about Facebook and Twitter, createifwriting.com/144. So we're going to dive into this whole social media update thing. And just as a side note, I missed last week. If you guys are avid every week listeners, it was Thanksgiving, and I sometimes forget about these holidays and then they sneak up on me and my kids are all home. So I took a week off of the quick fix, which is my weekly email. If you're not getting that, y'all get that. It's createifwriting.com/quick fix. And that's my every Friday email, except for Thanksgiving, apparently, with news, tools, trends, updates, and more that will help keep you apprised of what's going on in the social media writing and blogging world. Okay, so I wasn't here last week, but we're here now. So let's talk about some of the platforms I missed in the first part of this. We're going to go into Pinterest, and Pinterest is one of my favorite platforms, but I have to confess, I have been so poor at using it because it's one of those platforms that, because it's more of a search engine than social, it sends me traffic even if I'm not pinning or being active on the platform. So just imagine if I were being active, because it really is the top traffic source for all of my blogs, which is amazing considering I don't use it now. I pinned a bunch of stuff and it gets found. So the key to using Pinterest, if you have not really used Pinterest before, is that it's all about keywords. It's creating posts that have, or pins that have, content that people are searching for on there. And I've got some links with kind of tips and things like that in the show notes that will help you with this. But you're writing and trying to just put in words that people are looking for. For this podcast, I put in things like writing, social media, and things people are searching for. You can use hashtags, even though I always forget that I can use them because that's a newer update. They let you use them, then they stopped using them, and then they came back. And that was in the time I haven't been using them very much. But in any case, Pinterest is a very easy platform to use. You don't have to go talk to people. You don't have to do weird follow, unfollow, stuff like that. You can actually get good, traffic to your site without a ton of followers on Pinterest, more now than ever. So if you're not using it, you should be. And I've got some links that will help you get started. But a couple of the new things that have started, Pinterest communities, and this one cracks me up. It's like the Fight Club, where the first rule is you don't talk about it, because people talk about it, but you can't see a community unless you've been asked to join a community, and you can't be asked to join a community until you go try to join a community, but then you can't see the community. I tried for 30 minutes to get into a community that's open that someone invited me to. I can't find it. Every time I go to the community, Pinterest redirects. So clearly, as it stands right now, communities are not going to be that big of a deal because you can't get to them. So I'm not sure what the deal is there. If you know what the deal is, send me a message. I'm not dumb. I know how to use the internet, but I could not get into them. But apparently they're somewhere between a cross of a Facebook group and a Pinterest group board where you can talk about your pins. I don't know. To me, it just sounded not all that exciting, but anything new can be good, and being an early adopter can be good. If you can find where they exist. So, good luck with that. Can't help you. Another thing that's happening is Pinterest carousel pins. And if you know from Facebook, if you've heard that term before, carousel images are basically like you'll have a couple images per post instead of just one. I'm not sure how that's going to work on Pinterest because a lot of people just scroll down. And if you haven't really been on Pinterest, it looks like, I think the idea was like, it was like a big pin board, like a bulletin board of ideas. So, right, you're scrolling through, there's all these images and you can click to save them and share them without like doing anything else, like without going off of that page. So I'm trying to figure out how these carousel pins are going to be effective because I feel like it changes the user behavior. But, again, I don't know. I have not been on Pinterest very often. And so maybe there's new behaviors. Maybe they're actually really cool. I have the option to use them. It's a beta feature, so you may not. And maybe I'll try them and see, but I'm not really sure if those, to me, they don't seem like a very organic use of Pinterest. There are a lot more updates that are, small. I do have a post that I'm linking to from someone who did like a whole bunch of like just listing out all the different updates, big and small, they did. A couple more things that are just noteworthy if you're using Pinterest. Smart Loop is a new feature from Tailwind. Now, Tailwind is not Pinterest, but it works with Pinterest and Instagram. It's a third-party app that you can use to schedule your pins and your Instagram posts. And it's one of my favorite and kind of the only scheduling tool that I pay for because you can schedule to Instagram, which I'm not really using right now. And I'm not sure that I plan to. I mean, I have an Instagram account, has some followers, but I don't do much there. I don't even know when I last got on Instagram, to be honest with you. But for Pinterest, both of them, it actually has great analytics. It makes the posting and scheduling really easy. There's no reason I shouldn't be using it. But Smart Loop is basically, if you ever heard of Board Booster or used Board Booster, that was a scheduler for Pinterest where you would kind of set up a pin and be like, okay, pin this every like 30 days or every 3 hours. I don't think I would do that often, but whatever. It just kind of keeps it going for you. So it's a more automatic pinning without you having to go back in and do it yourself. And so Smart Loop is a new feature from Tailwind. If you want to use Tailwind, if you're looking for a scheduler, I highly recommend it. I do have an affiliate link. You don't have to use it, but if you feel like it, it's creativewriting.com/Tailwind. It's a pretty affordable scheduling tool. And if you're a heavy Instagram or Pinterest user, I would highly recommend it. Group boards, which used to be big on Pinterest, are not working so well. And this isn't really giant news to us. It shouldn't be giant news to us because they've been kind of going downhill for a while. But Pinterest has actually come out and said that they are not promoting those kinds of pins anymore or pushing them or letting them be seen because people were really just getting spammy. And there were these, group boards with thousands of members because it used to work really well. So then it became one of those like, let's game the system kind of things. And so everybody was using them and it just made the user experience icky. And so they aren't working very well. So if you have any giant group boards you're on, you might want to see if they're actually working for you and leave if they're not. Smaller boards that are group boards can still work well. I have a couple group boards. People still ask to join and they do really well. They're very small and I'm pretty picky. So like if people put up bad images, I kick them off the board. I don't have a lot of patience for that. Or if they're, spamming up the board with like 5 pins in a row that are the same, they're out. Again, I don't have time for that. So if you want to join a group board, which is basically where a couple people are sharing pins together, that can be really helpful. So for example, I have, somewhere Pinterest is weird, right? Because somebody could follow one of your boards, which is kind of like a specific category. So if you haven't been on Pinterest, I have a board that's creative writing. So every time I do a podcast episode, I share, that image up there and pin it onto Pinterest. I also have one for my fiction. And so every time I write a book or do something, I put that over there. Combined, I have almost 9,000 followers on Pinterest, but those 9,000 people don't follow every board. So, some of my boards have only 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000 followers. I say only, that's a good amount. But when you join a group board, so say you have 300, but you join my group board of 5,000 or 6,000, your pin, when you share it on my group board, is going to show to those people who have followed it. So you're going to get in front of a bigger audience. You can see why people start using group boards and abusing them because that's a great feature if you have a pretty small platform. But again, even if you're small, using the right keywords, using hashtags with keywords that people are searching for, that's going to help your content get found on Pinterest at the end. So if you're not using it, please do. It really is a fantastic sort of set it and forget it. You don't have to work that hard at Pinterest as long as you can go create a vertical image, which if you can use PicMonkey or Canva, they have templates on there. It's not that bad. You can do it, I promise. It's great for sending traffic over time. Okay, so YouTube. And YouTube is another place where, I have a presence, but barely any. I have a link to this in the show notes, but I have a video on YouTube that's been viewed 50,000 times. And I'm laughing because it's a video I did for my old blog and I did keyword research. This goes to show what SEO can do for you. So I did a blog post on why I like to paint the walls of my house with a brush instead of a roller, which is still true, even though a lot of people like to fight with me about this in the comments of that blog and on YouTube. I like a brush. So I did a blog post. We were about to move, so I was doing a lot of painting. I did a blog post, did a little video for it. It's a really poor quality video that's like 2 minutes long or something stupid like that, where I'm like, look, this is me painting a wall with the brush. But I used keyword research and that video has been viewed 50,000 times, which is insane because I'm not doing any more painting videos. I'm not a painter. Painters hate my video. I promise you, I've had fights with people about this. It's fantastic. I think it's funny. They feel very passionate. It's usually professional painters. But anyway, YouTube, hey, another great search engine, obviously. So if you're doing keyword research, you might do really well. Just make sure it's a video that is related to your other content, because that one is not at all. So YouTube is moving towards something called YouTube Studio, which is in beta. I have seen it. I have a screenshot of it in the show notes. Again, that's creativewriting.com/145. And one of the cool things that's in the Creator Studio is that they have kind of these little windows. So you have the place where you can click to navigate. Then they'll have some info about your videos and your analytics, but they also have a little section for YouTube news. And you can scroll through there and see YouTube updates right there, kind of in that dashboard, which is pretty cool. They also have YouTube premieres, and that's a new feature that's kind of going to be like the Facebook Watch. It sounds like to me, where you can have a party sort of with people online to premiere video. I'm not sure the details of how it works, but it sounds kind of fun if you like to do community stuff and have videos. YouTube is coming out with YouTube Stories, which is similar to stories on other platforms. But it's only available if you have 10,000 followers or more. So good luck to all you YouTube elite. I guess they want to have curated content. And so they want to know that the people who are getting that feature, it's going to be good quality. And they're hoping that, that social proof is good for that, which, for the most part, it probably is. YouTube, this was a really interesting one. So if you know anything about, YouTube, I'm trying to think what it was called, YouTube Originals maybe, or YouTube Red, they had a paid subscription service. And they had certain videos that were behind that paywall. For example, there was a new Karate Kid resurgence that had Ralph Macchio and the original guy who was bad. And I really wanted to watch it, but we're not paying for it. So YouTube tried that. It was kind of the Netflix model where you get to stream certain things, but only if you pay. They decided that didn't work for them. And they're taking everything out from behind the paywall and just using ads in their videos. That is kind of their strong suit anyway. And I really like this because it shows that this giant company, they have, Netflix has millions of people, YouTube has billions of views and people watching per day. They tried something, it didn't work for them. And so they said, okay, no biggie, we're going to go back to what does work for us. And I think that's a really good lesson that we can take in. It's great to try things, but it's also okay to say, you know what? That just isn't the best model for us. We're going to stick with the model that is best for us, even if that's not what everybody's doing. So I really kind of think that's cool. And now I can watch the Karate Kid thing. So I'm going to go do that later. So a few other random updates. I'm not going to cover a lot. Again, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode, but Instagram is cracking down on fake accounts. So hopefully that's none of you guys, because you're not smarmy people, but maybe you'll get less of those unfollow from the fake bots and accounts. And if you're using Instagram and you're not using a business account, you're not going to be able to use third-party tools after 2018. So after December, they've been rolling out a new API all year. They've been talking about it. It started to take effect in July, but December, it's going to be final. So if you're using something like Tailwind or Hootsuite to schedule, they're not really going to work anymore unless you have a business account for Pinterest. It's free to create, for Instagram. It's free to create But for me, it tanked when I was using Instagram. It tanked my views. So P.S. You should get a Pinterest business account too. It's also free and gives you good analytics and does not tank your views. But for Instagram, you are going to need to upgrade to that business account if you want to use any third-party tools. So that's one of the big changes. Really cool news for podcasters. Yay, podcasting. Libsyn, who is the host I use for my media. So basically, Libsyn is the company that you would use where you upload your media files and then get them put into Apple Podcasts, formerly known as iTunes, and all the other places. So Libsyn is now partnering with Pandora, which is like the biggest streaming service out there, already has all these audio listeners, and now they're bringing in podcasts. It's rolling out. It's not to everybody, but it will be coming. And I'm really, really excited about this one because I just actually found, I've been finding new listeners through these different things, and Libsyn makes it really easy. They call them destinations, so that when I publish my podcast, I can just choose to have my podcast go to all these places automatically, which is really, really fun. So I don't have to do tons of work to get my podcast places. I just use a really good host, and that's fantastic because there we go. I'm up there. So someone in the Facebook group, Glenn, shout out to you, Glenn, who's been listening to the podcast, found me on Spotify. And that was easy to get on because I just clicked, yes, I want to be on Spotify with Libsyn. So if you're thinking about podcasting, I highly recommend Libsyn. I'm not an affiliate. I just love them. I'm a huge fangirl. They have a great podcast called The Feed, the official Libsyn podcast. There's another, The Feed, which is about food, but look for The Feed, the official Libsyn podcast. But that's big news for podcasters because that is going to be a whole new group of people to reach very easily who are already into audio. So I'm very excited about that feature. So to kind of close this out, if you're overwhelmed with this whole idea of social media and keeping up with it and keeping up with blogging and all this stuff, to me, it's exhausting. Putting these posts together, honestly, I'll just say this was kind of exhausting. However, here's the thing that I have learned. I have a bunch of followers on a bunch of platforms, and it doesn't do anything for me. If I want to get a campaign, like as an influencer, I could probably do that because I could just be like, oh yeah, see, look, there's my numbers on Twitter or wherever. But I don't want to do that. It's not really bringing anything in. Having almost 10,000 followers on Twitter doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't sell more books for me. It doesn't, maybe it gives me a little clout if you go look at it. Cool. Clout's awesome. It's not going to impact my business in any way. The things that are impacting my business are the relationships I'm forming. And that happens for me through Facebook groups and email. I don't know what those places are for you where you're able to connect in the way you need to connect for what it is you're doing, but find those places and plug into those. Pay attention to what's going on there, but don't feel like you have to keep up with everything. Really, I feel like these days there's so many things you could do. It's just great to drill down and do the ones that are bringing something back to you. Maybe they're bringing back joy. Maybe they're bringing back money. Maybe they're bringing back new audiences or readers or whatever it is, but just don't go crazy and feel like you have to do all of this stuff. You don't. You need to find the few things that work for you and really plug in. Find a couple of experts who are in that field so you can kind of pay attention to what they're doing and they can keep you apprised to the news and new features. Subscribe to emails. Again, like the quick fix. I don't cover everything, but I do try to pull the big news and the big headlines and the big things that I think will impact you guys. So find the places that work for you, plug in, find a few people to follow, or if you want like a general sense of what's going on, there's a great site called Social Media Today. And I love just going over there and scrolling through the headlines, or a site like TechCrunch or Product Hunt. You'll find all kinds of new and cutting edge things. Product Hunt's less news, but you're going to find some really cool things there. Some of them you'll never hear of again because it's kind of like ideas and developers, but just find a couple sites that you like, check them out a couple times a week. I've told you guys last week that the Sell More Book Show is my go-to for book news and things like that, but you don't have to do the work. Find some other people to do the heavy lifting for you, and then really focus on 1 to 2 things that are actually bringing something to you. Again, that could be joy. It just depends on your goals. If Pinterest brings you joy, but it doesn't do much for your blog, cool. Just keep pinning stuff you love and have joy doing it. It's all about your goals. And for me, a lot of the social media platforms were not helping me reach my goals. And so I'm just not doing them anymore. And that's okay. And I'm fine with that. And then you have to get over the guilt and the shame and the sense of like, well, I should have. No, just no, don't. Pick your things, do that, the end. So I hope that frees you up a little bit as we close out 2018. Maybe you can choose to not go crazy and try to feel like you have to do everything. Slow down. Do a couple of things really well, and I think that's going to serve you a little bit better. So again, some links to leave you guys with if you want to find all the not the show notes, if you want to find the show notes, but all the links I talked about in this episode, you can go to creativewriting.com/145. If you want to sign up for my weekly email to get my updates, tips, resources, and more, go to creativewriting.com/quick fix. And if you want to join a fabulous free community of like-minded, non-smarmy individuals, you can go to creativewriting.com/community to connect with the Creative Writing community. It's a great group. That's all I've got for you today. It's pretty short and sweet. As we're entering into the Christmas holidays, I am going to be around a little bit less. I don't know when I'm going to stop podcasting, but I've got a lot of writing to do, a lot of family stuff to do, and so I will be disappearing a little bit. Just preparing you, so you've been warned. For now, I'm going to sign off and leave you with this. Go create content you love and serve your people well.